Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's workshop. I'm Adam Wierman, and I'm the director of the IST initiative at Caltech and a professor in computing and mathematical sciences. The IST initiative focuses on building and supporting an ecosystem for computing and informational sciences, connecting and seeding computational and algorithmic work across all fields at Caltech. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this workshop. I'm really excited for today. This is a part of the AI for Science initiative within IST, and which is led by Anima Anand-Kumar and Yisung Yu. AI for Science seeks to build tools that advance science, embedding AI into the process of scientific discovery. And this entails pushing the boundaries of fundamental AI to be more explainable, interpretable, trustworthy, interactive, while also separating causality from correlation. And so our plan is in the coming years to have workshops on each of those kind of foundational topics, where the workshops seek to both explain new theoretical results in those areas, but also bridge the fundamental AI theory with scientific applications. Of course, today is about explainability, so that's our kickoff of this theme of workshops for the coming years. Before moving to the speakers, I want to take time to thank our organizers and sponsors. So this workshop is sponsored by Amazon AWS, who's been a great partner for us with the AI for Science initiative, and also Virtualytics, who's another partner for that initiative. And more broadly, the initiative is also supported by a partnership with PIMCO around data science. And of course, I want to thank the organizers as well. So Djorgovski has been the chair of the workshop and has really pulled everything together for today. And then also his co-chairs Anima Anand-Kumar, Yisung Yu, Katie Bowman, and I helped a bit. And so with that, I'll pass it over to George, who's the conference chair and who will be our master of ceremonies today. George.
Well, thank you, Adam. Good morning to all of you, or whatever the time of the day may be, wherever you are on the planet. And thank you for joining us. So my name is George Djorgovski. I'm a professor of astronomy and data science at Caltech. I'm the director of the Center for Data-Driven Discovery and the chair of the organizing committee. So welcome to the workshop of Explainable AI. This is one of the series of AI for Science workshops, as Adam described. But in this one, workshop in particular is co-organized by our Center for Data-Driven Discovery at Caltech and our partner, the Center for Data Science and Technology at JPL. And by the way, the Zarathustra theme at the opening was an homage to a famous movie that included a fairly critical interaction of a human with an AI. So we're not just being gratuitously bombastic there. And if you caught the nice piano piece before that, it was composed by an actual AI. So first, let me give you a few words about logistics. The talks are supposed to be 25 minutes long with 5 minutes for questions. And please ask your questions in the Q&A feature. And I will convey them to the speaker if they don't do it themselves, and we'll answer as many as we can during the allotted time. The talks are being recorded, and the videos will be posted on our workshop website in a few days. So there are two main sessions, 9 to 12 a.m. In Pacific time and 1 to 4 p.m. And the Zoom link, which you're using now, which is your personal Zoom link, is where you get those. During the lunch break in California, at least, there is a virtual poster session, 12 to 12:30, and that is at a separate Zoom session, and you should have received the link for that. And the demos, first by Virtualytics about their natural language processing, and then at the end, also by Virtualytics, which are also their own separate Zoom sessions. And you can see the agenda for the whole thing on the workshop website, and I will repost links as needed. So let me just say a few words about the motivation for this workshop. As you know, AI is everywhere, is getting ever more persuasive, and it's becoming one of the most transformative technologies ever. And that's not the hype. All technologies, starting from grasping sticks and stones and fire, enhance or amplify some human ability. But AI is now enhancing or amplifying our minds. Remember that we pretty much already outsource our collective memory to Google, which is an AI itself. In 1960, cognitive scientist J.C.R. Licklider, who was, by the way, also a DARPA program manager who funded the development of the internet, and does maybe one of the most consequential human beings in history, even though most people have never heard of him. Well, he published a seminal visionary paper called Man-Computer Symbiosis, which is now regarded as one of the foundational papers of the computer revolution overall. So the vision was there, but the technology, of course, wasn't. He was only like 60 or 70 years too early. So for decades, we have been using machine learning, which is a subset of AI, largely to automate repetitive tasks in large data sets, things like classification, clustering, searches for outliers, and so on. But now increasingly, we're using it for ever more complex tasks. We are even delegating some life or death decisions to AI, for example, in medicine, self-driving cars, and so on. And in science, we are increasingly relying on AI tools to tackle the complex data sets and problems that may simply exceed the cognitive capacity of the human mind on its own. So we're rapidly approaching a collective or collaborative human AI discovery as envisioned by League Leader. And remember that AlphaGo, or AlphaFold, I should say, may have made the first autonomous scientific discovery by an AI. One very important aspect of machine intelligence is that it operates within architecture that is fundamentally different from the human intelligence. And thus it thinks differently. And that is exactly what we need, not just to mimic the way humans think with all of the biases, irrationality, and all that, but to provide a complementary view. And for example, AlphaGo, that became a world Go champion, discovered strategies that the humans have missed for 2,500 years, starting just from the rules of the game. And that illustrates how do we want to really use the AI. So a key question here is, can we understand why is AI giving us some results or recommendations? And how can carbon-based brains of ours communicate with the silicon-based brains, which work differently? And it's not just in the advanced scientific applications. Scientists, of course, always want to understand why something is, but also in the everyday life applications, the uptake of AI technology in general depends critically on whether humans can trust it. So they have to understand why it does what it does. And does explainable AI, the subject of this workshop. This is now a very vibrant and multifaceted, rapidly growing field in AI in general, and you will see some of the diversity from the talks. I'm very happy that we assembled a great group of speakers. All of them are rising stars in the field. And you can see also the additional examples in the virtual poster session and the demos. So if I may, let me give you a few words about my own motivation to enter this field. And it comes from data exploration in very high dimensionality data spaces. And therefore the need that we should be able to visualize effectively as many data dimensions as possible, both in terms of the structures that may be present in the data, but also in terms of what results is AI giving us and which AI algorithms should we choose. Essentially, we cannot really understand anything fundamentally, intuitively, that we cannot visualize in some way. That is a limitation of human mind. We have phenomenal pattern recognition engine in our heads, and we feed it usually, mostly through visualization. So the visualization is then really at the nexus of complex big data sets, AI analysis tools, and the human understanding of whatever the AI is really telling us. And incidentally, that's exactly the niche occupied by our sponsor, Virtualytics, and the CTO of Virtualytics is one of the speakers. I'm proud to be a co-founder of that company, to give you full disclosure. And we're very grateful for them for their workshop, for the sponsorship of this workshop, as well as Amazon Web Services and PIMCO, as Adam mentioned. We're running a little out ahead of the time, and our first speaker will be Yi-Sung Yu. Is the professor of computer science at Caltech, and is playing many other important roles, including being a co-chair of this workshop and of the whole series of workshops. Yi-Sung has been active in many different subfields of AI. I would say, since we are ahead of the time, if there are any immediate questions regarding the logistics of the workshop, I'll be happy to answer them, and then we will just yield to Yi-Sung. So please ask any questions if you have any. Oh, yes, there is a question. Two questions, in fact. What will be taught in this lecture? Well, look at the abstract. That will give you some hints. And the second question is, can one disable the auto transcript? I don't know if we can do that, or even if we should do this. I will point out again that we will have all the videos edited and posted on the workshop website in due time.